Flies. Review. Family crisis disrupts a woman's solitude in Fernando Eimbcke's lovely, lingering charmer. It's a reliable art house rule of thumb that putting any scrappily appealing kid in the path of any sour-set-in-their-ways adult character will eventually yield a thaw. And if the filmmakers get the tone just right, a full waterworks crowd pleaser in the vein of Cinema Paradiso Colia or Central Station. The fifth feature from stylish Mexican miniaturist Fernando Eimbcke Flies could be said to follow that rule, as it contrives to bring together a lonely arcade game-obsessed 9-year-old boy and an independent 60-something woman amid trying potentially tragic circumstances. But if Flies is familiar in many senses, it's too warmly and honestly felt to feel formulaic, and while its young lead, Bastian Escobar, is winsome, as can be, the film is colored by a deeper melancholy that staves off cutesiness. Premiering in competition at the Berlin Film Festival, his first film to do so since his sophomore effort Lake Tahoe in 2008, Flies continues a welcome return to activity for its writer-director, who ended a 12-year hiatus from feature filmmaking with last year's plan to produce Coming of Age Olmo. That film was both thoroughly winning and a little slight. And while Flies is equivalently modest in form and scope, its emotional connections and consequences sit a little heavier in the heart and linger longer in the mind. A performance of grave containment and gradually unlocked good humor from the great Teresita Sanchez, the chambermaid dos Estaciones, meanwhile anchors the unassuming drollness of Eimbcke's filmmaking. She plays Olga, an unattached retiree, with only occasional reason to leave her small, orderly two-bedroom apartment in a large Mexico City block. Hints abound in her living space of a past life that was less solitary, but she seems calmly resigned to her fixed ordinary routine, save for her regular fits of irritation at the flies that buzz aggravatingly around her living room all day, as demonstrated in the film's witty wordless opening scene. Times are lean, however, and she takes the reluctant step of advertising a spare room to rent for some extra income. Enter energetic young Christian Escobar and his weary-faced father Hugo Ramirez, unworldly out-of-towners in need of temporary accommodation near the city hospital where the boy's mother is undergoing long-term cancer treatment. Christian, whose wide-eyed perspective the film largely assumes, is still young enough to believe people only go to hospital to get better, though. The more we learn of his mother's plight, the hesitant stalling of hospital staff, the pained silences and absences of his father, the clearer it becomes that he's in for a jolting end of innocence. For now, his anxieties are managed with imagination and play. In particular, a quaintly 2-bit arcade game outside a local convenience store fills a lot of empty, unsupervised hours. Quiet and house-proud Olga has no intention of renting the room to families. Christian's desperate father smuggles him in after posing as a single lodger, a scheme that she quickly rumbles, giving the pair a few days to make alternative plans. When Dad finds much-needed casual employment, however, she's put in the position of childminder whether she likes it or not, and her carefully maintained distance from the outside world is shortened. Viewers may surmise from early visual cues why she's loath to make such human bonds, though the script by the director with Vanessa Garnica doesn't over-egg or over-explain, instead finding poignant meaning in material objects, the jigsaw puzzles and board games in her spare room cupboard, or a salsa CD hauled out for a rare spin. Shooting in the same crisp silvery monochrome that Eimbcke chose for his 2007 debut Duck Season DP Mara Seco, deftly contrasts the curtain-mollified light of Olga's apartment with the dry, bleached afternoon glare on the sidewalks outside, making a tranquil, if not altogether blissful, sanctuary of this boxy, unremarkable interior. Sound designer Javier Umpierrez does something similar with the relentless chatter of the city streets held at bay by Olga's fly-trapping windows. The jangling bleeps and bloops of the arcade game, meanwhile, come to form a score of sorts, a sonic diversion from the real world closing in on Christian. A first-timer and a genuine find, Escobar plays the lad with utterly natural restlessness and ingenuity, swinging erratically as kids that age so often do between nagging curiosity about the world around him and equally exasperating disengagement. But if he holds the camera's gaze with unpracticed ease, he grows into a tenderly attentive scene partner for Sanchez, who's equally delicate and generous in mapping out Olga's various interior defenses and the traumas behind them, and the latent involuntary caring instinct that Christian sparks in her. Flies neither writes nor observes these two haphazardly paired souls as an offbeat odd couple for primarily comic purposes. Rather, it works patiently and compassionately to show how similar they are across divides of generation and circumstance, and what solace they can briefly find in each other.